Hello everyone, this is Gabby and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today I am slightly nervous because I'm gonna talk about a book that is so popular in BookTube. It's From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Earl Armentrout. It's rated like 4.4 stars average. It's so well loved and it won the Goodreads Choice Awards for Best Romance in 2020. And I hated it. I'm not indifferent to this book. I don't just dislike it, I hated it. And I seriously need to rant about it because it makes me so angry. I was super hesitant about posting this video, but I figured if I can praise a book, I can criticize it too. The story is about a girl named Poppy. She is the maiden, the chosen by the gods to something we don't really know, and she doesn't either. She is isolated, she cannot be touched, she cannot be talked to, she can't even show her face. Poppy basically cannot do anything she wants. Her life is driven by others while she's waiting for her ascension, whatever that is. One day, a super sexy golden-eyed guard appears. His name is Hawk, and he is bound to protect her. She is immediately attracted to him, and things start to get messy because she has to choose between her duties / destiny or her needs and desires for this guy. So I was looking for a good fantasy romance. I saw this one was super well rated and I picked it up. But I had to force it down my throat, and I didn't DNF it mainly or first because I was hopeful it was going to get better, and then because I wanted to rant about it knowing what I was talking about. Again, please don't kill me. This is my own personal opinion and you're welcome to have your own. So I'm gonna dissect this book in different aspects and I'm gonna talk about each of them. So I'm gonna talk about the writing. I am no expert here. I am just a girl who happens to love reading. But oh my god, the writing felt awful to me. There was an excessive use of ellipses, even in Poppy's head. I mean, girl, it's okay to stutter, but do you also do it in your mind? Also, the narration seems so contradictory. I mean, this is supposed to be medieval, right? So why were you using so many modern words like shocker or whatever? It felt like they were only used to make Poppy seem sassy. I don't know, maybe I'm too picky on this. The dialogue felt forced, the arguments went far too long, and even the bickering between the characters just bored me so much. They felt super childish. And then we got the names. And this might be a little inconsequential for people, but it bothered me. I care about names, especially if I'm reading high fantasy. I expect them to be creative and compelling, but these names were so lame, and the places were called Atlantia, Macedonia, Pompeii, and the characters, I felt like the author just picked real names and mixed the vowels together. I mean, Victor, Hawk with an E, Penelope, not to mention the name of the villain, the Dark One. I've read so many books with a villain called like that. But moving into more important things, I'm gonna talk about the world building. The world building felt lazy to me to a fault. This is my opinion. But I felt like I was thrown into a world where we don't have any information about, we don't know how places look like, and it's not like they're holding information from us with a purpose. They just don't tell us. And for it to be so focused in religion, we don't really know anything about it other than that they are people that are called the Ascended, that for some reason they were found worthy by the gods, and that third and fourth sons and daughters have to be given to the gods, no questions asked, because reasons. The only thing we get to know about these kind of cruel gods, it's put in a scene where Poppy gets into a room and sees statues and names some of the gods. Period. I mean, she doesn't even know what it means to be the maiden. And the amount of exposition that we get into this book, that it's a lot, it's not even for us to immerse into this world. It's just more and more internal monologue in Poppy's head about how miserable her life is and everything, and I will get to her later. This is a high fantasy novel. If this just was a romance, I wouldn't care so much about the setting. But if I'm reading fantasy, I expect a world building, a world that appealed to us. I'm not asking for Tolkien's or Jordan's or Brandon Sanderson's depth in world building, but I want to know where we are. I want some kind of description about the places we're walking through. I felt like most of the book, there were like floating heads interacting with each other. Characters, and I'm just gonna get this out of the way. Victor and Tony were the only characters I cared about throughout the entire book. But let's talk about Poppy. The amount of internal monologue we get from her whining and whining about how miserable her life is infuriating. Granted, her life does suck. But do we have to go about it over and over again? It would be different if her internal monologue would lead us to get deeper into her character, because she had so much potential for it. She had a traumatic past. She was severely abused, both emotional and physically. But it's weird because although we know she had a really traumatic past, her parents were killed gruesomely, she doesn't really talk about it, or she doesn't really think about it much, although we know it was traumatic. And that makes her seem super one-dimensional to me. Also, what is her role in the story? She basically just wanders around the castle all day long. Even she says so at some point in the book. And knowing that she has a dagger tied to her thigh all the time, whatever. Poppy has no personality whatsoever, and it bothers me to no end that Hawk praises her so much about being so intelligent, while Poppy is oblivious to everything that happens around her, especially if it involves Hawk. Because you know, he has beautiful golden eyes and a freaking dimple that it's mentioned over and over again every time Hawk is on page. Hawk. Was I supposed to find this guy cute? Because I didn't. He was controlling, he was annoying, he was terribly full of himself, he was a jerk and a predator. Apparently, he doesn't understand the concept of consent. No means no. Every time Poppy said no, he ignored her and did it anyway. And even the few occasions that he actually asked her, it was in a way that like, oh yeah, I'm so horny, please tell me you want it too. Which is a really manipulative kind of way, because he didn't leave her much of space to tell him that she didn't want to. Plus, every time he asked her, he already had his hands all over her. And at some point he said something around the lines of, if you actually wanted me to stop, you would have made me. That is not how consent works, sir. Sorry, that is not sexy, that is not romantic, that is abusive. He totally disregarded the fact that she was the maiden and how conflicted she was about that and her desires about him. We see it in the very first scene at the Red Pearl, where He grabs her without her permission and sucks her nipple over the ropes. That was uncomfortable. Because did he even wonder if she wanted that? Oh, and he's rolling the story predictable to its core. Nothing really surprised me there. I hated the romance here. It was abusive. I am so done with romanticizing abusive relationships. And that's what it was. And also it was insta love. I mean, Poppy fell in love with this guy like few weeks after she met him. And she didn't know anything about him. When I read romance, I expect a slow burn and understanding of why the characters are falling in love, not just because they're hot. Finally, let's talk about plot. Where was it? It was mostly Poppy meandering around the castle, trying to break the rules and looking to Hawk's, again, golden eyes and his dimple. Seriously, they mentioned this dimple so many times that I was like rolling my eyes at the end. It just feels like random things are happening. We have some murders here and there, but we don't actually get what the book is about until the last like 50 pages. And at that point, I didn't care anymore. The predictability of this book was... Every plot twist was hinted so explicitly that I kind of knew what was going to happen pages before it did. I feel like I got way too intense there. Maybe I got over the top, and I am sorry about that, but I have really strong feelings about this book. I really didn't like it at all, and seriously, I think it's the worst thing that I've read in a really long time. Which is a bummer because so many people love this book and I was so eager to read it and love it as well. And usually I am not that negative about a book. I usually try to find the silver lining in every book. And at some point I thought like, oh, maybe this is not that bad. But then like 10 pages later, it was like, oh no, I was wrong. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about it. I just want to have a good discussion about this book. I don't want to fight about it. I really want to know your opinions in the matter, even if you disagree with me strongly. And again, this is how I feel about this book. I don't intend to personally offend anyone here. And finally, if you like this rant, and you want to stay tuned, give me a thumbs up, ring the bell, and click on the subscribe button. I will be posting Mondays and Thursdays. Thank you guys and see you soon.